Good morning. It is so nice to be out here on this nice fall morning. We're so blessed in the city of Winston-Salem to have a very productive city. And I do see that our city manager is here. And I'm sure he has his staff. And we also have council people McIntosh and Councilman Larson. We as elected officials, we want you to know that we do everything we possibly can to make sure that your dollars are spent well. The mayor has sent word that he had a previous engagement, and he felt that that engagement would be over for this positive, wonderful event, but he will not be with you. It's a possibility he may get here if it turns out over where he is earlier. I've not heard from the councilman of the ward, Montgomery, and I've not heard from the chairman of the Public Safety Committee. You know, I carry this city, don't I? I love this city, you know it. We do have some other officials here. We have our chief of police, Thompson. She's going to speak. We have our chief of fire, Mayo. I saw him. And we also have Miss Karen Watson, Forensic Service Division Supervisor. Where is Miss? All right. The purpose of this meeting, of this activity, is to look at this wonderful building, the Alexander R. Beaty Public Safety Training and Support Center, Phase 2. Pardon me, I do see Assistant City Manager Rao, raise your hand. And I see Mr. Turner just coming in, Assistant City Manager. If I've left anybody out who enjoys your status, just raise your hand so they'll know that you're here. I want everybody to go home happy. I see that we have the D.A. O'Neill raised his hand, he's here. And you have with you, all right, Ms. Martin. And you also, I didn't see the clerk, you're the clerk of courts. Nice to see you, Ms. Fry. Raise your hand, they may not know you. It is always a pleasure to have elected officials to be with us. I had started to talk about this public safety center, and I pass it just about every day. And when I pass it and I look at Alexander Beaty's name on this building, I was so pleased that we built the building and I could recommend that his name be put on this building. And I was pleased that the council people agreed that his name should be on this building. How many of you knew Alexander Beaty? And see, some of the newer employees and some of the younger ones and some of the people who are in this city did not know him. He grew up in this city, and he worked very hard. He helped his mother, a single mother, to raise his brothers and sisters, and they all got their education. And Alexander Beaty was a good man. When I first met him, he was in charge of personnel. And we had a very fine city manager before Oval Power. He didn't stay long. And then we had Mr. Bill Stewart. And when I looked at Alexander Beaty and his capabilities, I knew that he could be a fair man. He was a good man. And I said to Bill Stewart, I said, it bothers me deeply when I receive information from Pat Swan and Joe Barrier. And they just send their information to you, but when it's Alexander Beaty, he has to go through you. I say he's a man, and I want him to be given all respect and consideration. And Bill Stewart said, let me go back to the drawing board, Mrs. Burke. And he went back to the drawing board, and Alexander Beaty became an assistant city manager with all rights and respect for any man or woman in their job. And he did a very good job. He was fair. He knew that this city needed a lot of changes, and we had to look at what we would do to regroup the minds of our police department. And y'all know I love you. I don't bother these blue suits, but there were things that we had to do to change. And I'm pleased that we did a lot of things, because when the city manager, now we talk about every morning, we pray about this city and how to keep it safe, and people who are out front, how to keep them safe, the kind of jobs they have to do. It's not easy jobs, our public safety people, fire, police, emergency management people. And we pray about how we can make all of us do a better job in working together. And I want to tell you, with the initiatives that we have had in this city, we have been a city that people look to for guidance. We have been a city that's been forward, aggressive, for the welfare and the safety of all our citizens in this city. So, Mr. City Manager, as you do your job and work with your public safety people, I know you know the importance of it, and we appreciate you, all of us. Well, I've talked enough for all of them who did not come. So now I'm going to ask council members, would you come forward over here and make a comment, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think when the general public drives by this building, all they see is a lot of brick and steel and glass. And I think people who understand the value of this building drive by it, and especially those that are not members of our forces, I think they get a little envious. I believe the ability that this facility gives us to solve crimes, to keep people safe, people just don't understand if they're not doing it day to day. So I'm happy that we are spending the money to make your lives better and to make our lives better, and just take good care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Larson, please.
Well, there are so many things right about this today in this place and what's going to happen here, and I certainly thank the Mayor Pro Tem for putting a human face onto a building. I'm an architectural historian, and I celebrate the fact that this building, instead of going into the landfill in Winston-Salem, is now been revitalized, and we have on the first floor a active police department, forensics department, evidence space, and on the second floor now we've got the fire department having a new home with all kinds of educational classrooms and opportunities. What a perfect combination. Things that happen behind the scenes, as Councilmember McIntosh just mentioned, are so important to the city. I think, we see the police cars out, we see the fire trucks rolling out, and we have no idea about the amount of training that this city undertakes for our first responders. And I applaud the first responders that are here. I applaud your efforts and recognize that your service is not just what's out in front of the public, but the commitment that you're making on a daily basis to come in and keep yourself on the edge of being able to perform your duties. And this facility, of course, helps us do that. And I want to thank you all for doing that. It's a good step forward. I think the city can be very proud of this day, and I'm thrilled. I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't even on council. But I do recognize the work that's gone on before me, and I appreciate all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you very much. At this time, we will have remarks from Assistant Fire Chief Frank Stowe.
Good morning. This is truly a wonderful, glorious day for fire and police. I, first of all, want to give thanks to God for my health and for allowing me to be here today. I'd like to say good morning to Mayor Pro Tem Berg here, Councilmember Larson, and Councilmember McIntosh, and as well as our wonderful city manager, Mr. Gary. If I've missed anyone that I should have said a good morning to you. In the event that any council members walked up, you may be in the crowd, I say good morning to you as well. On behalf of Chief W.L. Mayo, who is standing over there today, his administration, and all of the 300 plus men and women of fire suppression, we want to say thank you for this building. We want to say thank you for this space. For many years, what we called a training department was a room over at Station 7 at the corner of Arbor and Country Club. But we made do, and we worked it out because we're still trained to the best of our ability to serve the citizens of this city. With what I'm going to call the first phase of a training facility, because I know there's more to come, I just give you just great thanks that these men and women that you call your fire department can elevate themselves even more. Trust me, you have some of the best, some of the smartest responders in this world. You look at those trucks out there, you just don't get on that truck and know how to do the job. It takes training. It takes training, it takes training, and more training. With this first facility, we will do just that to continue to serve the citizens of this city. So Winston-Salem, just be assured that when you dial 911 and when it's fire-related or rescue-related and you need your fire department, we will be there. Not only will we be there, we will be properly trained and ready to serve the citizens. And again, I say thank you.
This is a very special introduction because this individual said to me the other day, she first remembered me 23 years ago when she became a police. So I'm so pleased and happy to introduce and present to you our Chief Thompson, please.
Thank you. Good morning. Guys, come on, we can do better than that. We're in Winston-Salem. Good morning. There you go. I want to first off start by thanking our mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Burke, our city council members, today specifically, council members McIntosh and Larson, and all of our council members. I am thankful to them all for continuing to show their support for providing our department the best resources possible. It's been demonstrated time and time again with the district offices, and I had the opportunity to have line up with the District 1 office today, and also District 3 office that we will do the ribbon cutting in the near future on Stratford Road. As Chief of Police, my commitment is to make sure we maximize all the tools that you all have provided to us to serve the best residents in the world, side by side with our fire department. I specifically, having spent 23 years of my career right here in Winston-Salem, want to say how far we have come today. I remember, and many of you who've been around a while, remember the old Sallyport days and how we processed and still provided excellent customer service at that time. Guys, look at where we are today. Isn't that awesome? Now, I'll invite Karen Watson, our Forensics Division Supervisor, to come and talk to you about how we'll use the space to better serve our citizens. Thank you all for being here.
Ooh, what a crowd. Okay. First of all, I want to thank all the elected officials, city officials, and the police command staff. And also a special thank you to the citizens for their approval of the funding for the renovations and the state-of-the-art office and laboratory that we've now entered. Just to give you a little background about myself, I was promoted in 2010, and I started looking at the other forensic units across the state to see how we stacked up in comparison. The chief at that time asked me, well, Karen, how do we look? And I said, well, Chief, here's the deal. I said, have you ever been traveling across the country or out of state and you stop at a restaurant that doesn't look too good, but it's the only restaurant available, and you think, I've got to stop and have a meal. So you do, and it's the best meal you've ever had. I said, that's your forensic services unit. We don't look good so far as the building and the structure, but we're the best forensic team that you could possibly have. My goal at that time was to move us forward. So in July of 2011, we moved the processing bays, basically 2 car bays, to this building on the first floor. And we've done extremely good work at that location. There were constant talks about moving to the 2nd floor of Beaty. Our hopes were up, they were down, up, down, but we knew we had to move because we needed a bigger and better facility. In 2012, we recognized the backlog of critical firearm-related cases pending at the North Carolina State Crime Lab. At that time, Forensic Services Division took over the test firing of all seized weapons and entry into the automated databases. Basically, this department seizes between 500 and 700 guns annually. We didn't stop there. Since then, we've had 3 employees to graduate from the National Firearms Examiner Academy in Amandale, Maryland. That's a very prestigious academy. Let me recognize one of the graduates now. Allison, raise your hand. Since then, we've purchased specialized equipment. And again, thank you to the city for seeing our needs and allowing us to make the purchases. And we've now have a fully functioning firearms laboratory with a ballistic testing range and a shoot tank, and can perform the same services as the North Carolina State Crime Lab. The North Carolina State Crime Lab, in our major firearm cases, had a turnaround time of 2 to 3 years. They were still on the shelf unopened. In some of our major cases, since we started this endeavor in 2012, we've had turnaround in major cases in a few days. We are a support unit and respond to 5,000 to 6,000 calls per year for service, and we average about 8,000 to 10,000 fingerprints developed. Prior to the technological advances, those numbers were much lower. Our latent print examiner staff has doubled in 2013, and their tedious work requires considerable ability, training, and space to perform, and this new facility has provided that. In 2015, Forensic Services recognized the need for blood alcohol and drug testing for effectiveness in law enforcement. We coordinated with NMS Labs, which is a very highly reputable lab located in Pennsylvania, and basically we have a contract with them, have outsourced their services, and that has just made us more effective in law enforcement. Let me recognize the 3, if you would. Although we were very limited with space and forensic services and able to start the lab processing with NMS Labs, we gave them 1 room within the Beaty Center on the first floor, and I mean their quarters are tight. They have no room to move around, the machinery in 1 room. I don't know how they get their job done, but they do. But I believe effective October 16th, they begin moving upstairs into their new lab space. In June 2016, we became accredited in 3 forensic disciplines: crime scene, latent prints, and firearm and tool marks. Accreditation is a system of checks and balances to ensure we provide quality and give the citizens of Winston-Salem the very best. On July 1st, 2016, we began providing forensic services to the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, resulting in an increase in our workload and staffing. This newly renovated facility provides us with a positive new work environment, all under 1 roof, space to perform our critical task, and room for future growth. No more waiting for a desk or computer. And I'm here to tell you that can create a difficult matter in my unit early in the morning when someone needs a desk and someone needs a computer and we don't have it. So, really. In November, I'll reach my 31st year with this department, which I consider the department top in the nation. I've seen forensic services evolve from a few photographs and throwing dusting powder for prints to chemical processing, evidence fuming, collection of DNA from anything and everything, fingerprint comparisons and identifications in minutes, computerized crime scene sketching, ballistic comparison in days, not years, and raising cars on lifts searching for critical evidence in the undercarriage of these cars. On Tuesday, September 26, the Winston-Salem Journal headlines read, 6 people shot within 17 hours in Winston-Salem. We provide the critical forensic services for these investigations and have the best facility to carry them out. And thank you for that. Thank you for recognizing our efforts. I have the best team in the nation, 43 committed employees that do some of the hardest work you can imagine. And providing the means for us to continue to grow and provide the services to support effective law enforcement within our community. My many thanks.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all who shared information, and I'm sure that history we heard is valuable. As I looked out and see you standing here in this great country, America, we live in, how content you are that you got up from nice homes, got into nice cars, walked into nice neighborhoods, came to a building that, as I reflect back, when Mr. City Manager was not the city manager, but Mr. Stewart had assigned him, Mr. Garrity, to work with this project. And he worked with this project with Chief Norris. Is that the one? Now, we've had in this city 3 women chiefs, starting with Chief Linda Davis. And we also had Chief Norris, and now we have Chief Thompson. And I would say this would be the opportunity when we think about this great country, America, we live in. City Manager, this will be our opportunity to look around at our employees and to say we appreciate the job you're doing. We appreciate having heads of departments, but we're going to have to make this city government mirror this community. Because for people to communicate their needs and their concerns, they're going to have to look at some folks that look like me to be able to move our city when you come to the welfare and safety of all the people in this community. So I said to Chief Thompson, you have a challenge. I said to Chief Mayo when he came, you have a challenge. You inherited some things. So I would expect for us as citizens to keep in mind this great city we live in, that we want all of us to feel good about where we live and what we do. And then I thought about when we got up this morning, because of having a strong public safety department, fire, police, emergency management, we don't have to worry like a lot of people. We can walk our streets, and I want to say thank you to our public safety people. We can walk our streets and feel good about where we are. I know you heard a few minutes about how many people had been used the guns in this community. But there are certain things I want this public to understand. Your council people and your mayor and your public safety committee, we will not tolerate things in our city. We're going to even get better for all of our citizens in this community. And I would like for you just a moment to just bow your heads. If you don't trust, to close your eyes, but it's safe. And just say a thought about the people who are suffering so bad in the other cities, in the other states in our great country. So just bow our heads and ask God to lift them and bless them. And we ask this in the name of our Father in heaven, that he will bless all of the people. We feel blessed, and we want others to be blessed. So on this great day that we're here talking about safety, we will continue to have a safe, wonderful city. And all of you who have stood out there with your pleasant faces, with your smiles, I want you to know we appreciate happy people in our city. And thank you for coming.
3, 2, 1.
Susan, get the second.